really like what you're saying about the situation with young chefs kind of having to prove it and prove that you know what's up, rather than like maybe the more punk rock, idea of like, I'm here, I'm young, I'm doing this, eat my food. And I feel like that's something that we all talk about a lot.
Hi, I'm Jason French, and this is Kelly Cox. Welcome to downtown Portland for another episode of Curation, where we bring together two artists for a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
We're going to go to New York City and talk with musical group Sunflower Bean.
And while we're here, we're going to hang out with Lauren Breneman and Johnny Boisse of Portland pop-up Astral.
John Boisse!
John Boisse!
Let's start by going and hanging out with John Boisse and Lauren.
Tell us a little bit just about the initial spark that brought you together and what Astral's about.
We moved here just a little over 3 years. Yeah, 3 years ago. We sort of like got our groundings in Portland. We had moved from Chicago, and we realized like the Portland thing was like these pop-ups that we kept seeing. It's just something sparked. We were like, well, why can't we do something like this? Like, it'd be fun to just have like a creative outlet where we can express ourselves creatively and kind of genuinely. So that's like kind of how it all started.
I had moved up right after high school to go to culinary school in Chicago. We ended up meeting at a restaurant called Perennial Verant. I was a sous chef at the time, and she had just moved from Boston.
We both worked together, and then we started seeing each other, and then we decided to move out to Portland.
Chicago can be like that big city, like kind of cutthroat mentality where, push anybody out of the way to get to where you want to be. And I feel like Portland was definitely super community oriented. I mean, it's like, it kind of seems a little cliche thinking about it now. But it is. But it actually is. Like, you don't realize it until people are like, when we started, we had a bunch of people who were just behind us, like 100%.
When people ask us about the pop-up, they definitely ask like, what type of food and where do you do it? And we have to just say, we cook everything and we cook all over the place. Our motto is like always changing it up. Like, we never want anybody to be like, have the same meal at the same place. We'd much rather have completely different experiences for the people.
In order to advance or like push yourself or learn more, you have to just make things constantly more difficult for you.
We're kind of in like the cook's mentality where you should always be learning, and if you ever get to the point where you feel like you're not learning anything, then I feel that's the point where you're like, okay, I need to find where I can be learning something new, where I can be like taking away inspiration and formulating your own voice from that.
We do these pop-ups and we don't want to just choose one type of cuisine and box ourselves in. There's so many other like cool flavors and ingredients and techniques out there that it's like we don't want to choose one.
Some people kind of really like jump from like the first step to like the fifth step, where they're like, oh, I'm gonna go experiment and go crazy and do all these things, and it just like never ends up like solid.
If you don't put the time in, that blows up in your face later on because you miss all these building blocks that you need to actually have like a sophisticated palate and the skill set to actually execute it.
It took me years and years to like get to a point where you're really comfortable with your skill level and execution of like certain things. And I think when you get to that point, that's when you realize like I have my own creative spark that's coming out suddenly. And it's almost like you don't even notice it, but it's just like happening. Music is like really important to us. I think one of the reasons why we like started talking, because we'd hear each other's music playing in like the prep room downstairs in like the kitchen, and we'd be like, oh wow, like
you'd be like, well, you listen to this band? Like, oh man, let's like. And then we went to shows together, and then we just started seeing each other. So it was like, the music was a huge part of who we are.
Growing up, it was always music playing. My dad is a huge fan of Van Morrison, so anytime I hear Van Morrison, I always think of my dad and like family, which is kind of the reason why I cook. And one of my favorite albums is called Astral Weeks. And came up and we like, it was like sort of like
said it.
kismet. We just said Astral and it was that.
You guys are playing with Sunflower Bean.
It seems like it's a good background for what you guys do, because it's essentially finding spaces to play in and having a party. Let's talk food.
Let's talk food. And lunch is
Let's talk food. What are you thinking? Have you thought about it? Have you listened to their music?
We have. Well, we love the music.
I know.
I like geeked out and like got on the computer.
For us, it was like, what do we want to convey as far as like cooking outside and cooking for a band and like cooking for people? So what do you want to eat at a festival? And it just made a lot of sense to do, like tacos and fresh corn and like crudité and salsa, like some
tequila in there. Weave a tequila bottle in.
You're just putting yourself out there. And it's like what you enjoy either playing or listening to, or it's what you really enjoy eating and cooking. And it's just like putting yourself on the proverbial plate or stage and doing it and seeing if people are even into it.
Formed in 2013, Sunflower Bean has come out with a very strong female voice.
Oh, is that was the other line? Sorry. That's not really a line, is that?
New York.
Yeah, and then go to New York, that's fine.
All of us started pretty young, like when I was 13, and I think these guys when you were like 14 or 15.
Yeah.
And it was at a time in New York when there were still venues that you could play, like Cake Shop or Living Room, that would let you do like shows at night with other bands that were younger. Slowly, that stopped being a possibility.
There's a lot of venues that we came up in playing just shutting down and like the scene dispersing and not feeling like that much of a scene anymore. So it goes.
So sick of thinking of New York as a museum. It's very easy to live in the past in such an iconic place, but it's really boring too. We're very dedicated to supporting and even like serving New York. I want to keep being a New York band and keep being a part of that history because it's important.
Yeah. It's us. We're not moving to LA.
I was a hustler, you know I was a gambler. I had a woman I couldn't handle.
Me and Jacob were in another band where I was playing bass and he was playing drums. And my senior year of high school, I started writing my own songs. Me and Jacob like linked up after school and we just like jam in his basement. Had kind of like a revolving door of like just different bass players that none of them were really committing. And I kept on asking Julia if she would play bass and sing in the band.
Basically, the other bass player had a girlfriend who he had to drive around in the car a lot.
Well, that was one of them, yeah.
That was the main.
Jersey.
That was my competition.
We played like 2 or 3 shows without Julia, and one of them was on me and Jacob's prom night.
I saw the other Sunflower Bean shows that I didn't play. I thought they were cool. I thought they were cool guys. They were my new friends. I saw so much passion in Nick and Jacob that I wanted to be close to them, and I wanted to do it. I never felt like judged or looked at for being exactly where I was, and that's really nice.
With like our families, it's like they're all kind of different, but they all, I think, instilled a love of music. Like turning on the radio and like being passionate and excited about just songs, and kind of allowed us, as we got older, to really branch out and find like our own music taste.
My dad's good at playlists. Sometimes he makes playlists for like if I sometimes do an event, and he taught me a lot of bass. All you really need is supportive parents, or even your parents like kind of looking the other way, being like, all right, like you want to go out in the city and cut your chops, like I'm just gonna let that happen and support you in it. And I think that it was a really good combination for all of us. We got really lucky. Jacob's mom is an angel.
Yeah, we practice in her basement in Long Island still. To this day.
I know we're on the right track when I hear a little voice from upstairs that's like, good one, guys.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes. And then sometimes I'm like, what'd you think of that one? She's like, interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you know, I'll get her next time.
Oh, so shaking now. Oh, so shaking now. Oh, so shaking now. Oh, so shaking now.
Something about Sunflower Bean, we never shy away from artistic growth, because I think that's what keeps us going. We don't really want to do something the same way twice.
I think we really tried to face it without fear. We tried to do that as a band all the time.
To sort of like be more sincere and open and honest about things, which is a very unmillennial thing to do. I do think that irony and stuff like that has like its end, and it's sort of nihilistic, and I think we're looking for something more sincere.
We didn't try to fit into any box. I think we stand by artists growing, even if it's kind of scary and painful. You can't try to keep yourself anything to make other people happy.
Such a great feast tonight for y'all. So you guys tell us about it.
The first course you're being served right now is a fresh corn esquites. Have you ever had elotes, which is like Mexican street corn? So we did like sort of a version of that. The second course that will be served is a roasted pork and onion dish with fresh flour tortillas that we made this morning.
And we have a little dessert. I made you guys these little cookies, so they're little like espresso shortbreads with cacata. Thank you all so much for being here, and we're really looking forward to Sunflower Bean.
If you're young, you're supposed to learn. You're supposed to be you're supposed to be in a kitchen, but you're like can't do your own things. Like Portland's amazing for the idea that pop-ups can like allow young people with their own voice to like really like put themselves out there. And whether they fail or they not, at least they like, I mean, it's just like trying. The fact that we're here right now is kind of a testament to just like trying to put yourself out there.
If you're a touring musician, there's like 3 things that you can get into. It's either drugs, sex, or food. And I feel like for us, like food is kind of our choice. We're kind of like a family operation. So it's like we have to have something to experience. While we're traveling, and it usually becomes food. So when we heard about this and heard that Pickathon wanted to do it, it was me and work with a chef and make a menu around our band, it was like perfect, a match made in heaven. Food and music are kind of the most transformative gifts in life, maybe besides like pure love and like family. They're like just the most
universal forms of communication.
Yeah.
Necessity.
And
like you need it.
It's way better to be in the game and failing and sucking and trying than to not be, because there's and especially girls that come up to me and say, I play bass, I play guitar, but I'm afraid, I don't think I'm good enough to play with other people yet. And I say, if you try, you'll be good enough. If you're sitting in your room like noodling, you're never gonna feel confident, and you just have to be out there.
So shaking now. So shaking now. So shaking now. So